Let's do it. Put your hands together for Brian Dalmaso.
All right, all right. Well, this is intimate. I'm going to play a quick video. That video was done by Ray and his team. I want to thank these guys. They do a really, really good job. We had a great experience with Ray. If anybody's thinking about using him, unbelievable experience with him. And today we're going to bake your noodle a little bit with mindset. A lot of people say, what is mindset training? We're born with certain equipment, but we're never taught how to use it. So this is going to be like drinking from a fire hose, but I'm sure we can get you guys the slides. And I always like to start off with the story of the fly, right? We've always seen something like this at our houses, right? Little fly buzzing on the window, buzzing, 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 putting all its energy trying to do the impossible, break through the glass. This signifies a lot of what human beings do, right? They kind of get it in their heads through grade school and high school and college, and they get into a career, and they just do that one thing, and they do it harder and harder and harder. And you can see in this picture here that right below is a much easier solution, right? If the fly could just shift its awareness, shift its thinking. What's so cool about the BA when you come here with your own verticals is you're getting opinions from all these other verticals, all these other points of view on a business, and that's what's so cool about this. So I like to say when you're driving down the highways, this is kind of what it looks like, right? People are going to jobs they hate. Like, that is not a thinking person. So when we educate people in mindset, it's really understanding the equipment you were born with. And the key thing here, guys, is that wealth is 95% mindset. And I know that sounds like a big number, but you've seen it here all week. It doesn't matter if somebody's in real estate, software, clothing, right? It doesn't matter what vertical they're in. It matters their mindset in it. And we've heard it time and time again. And it's only 5% what you do. So it doesn't really matter what you're doing. It matters the mindset about that. And we're going to show that to you here. And I'll give you a few examples. You know, you could be a stock trader like these people here, right? Or you could be a stock trader. Think about it. Warren Buffett, I mean, he trades companies, but he's in the same vertical. And the difference is mindset. It's not the industry. You could be in real estate. There's probably a lot of people in real estate here, right? Or you could be like Mr. Grant Cardone. Love him or hate him, he's controlling over $2 billion in assets in real estate. And the difference is mindset. And it's funny because Grant publicly went out and said, I don't believe in the law of attraction, which is really funny. That'll be a whole other story. Or you could be in online businesses, you know? At-home online businesses, or you could be like Mr. Jeff Bezos, right? Online businesses. So mindset, mindset, mindset. It's really understanding and training in your conscious mind, your subconscious mind, and your body, and learning how to use these things. So there's a history behind this. Everything I'm going to show you guys here today, it's not my opinion. It's not my material. I've been very blessed to be in a lineage of people that understand how we think and act and operate. And it really started, it started before Andrew Carnegie, but if anybody knows, he was the world's first recorded billionaire, the United States Steel Corporation. And he passed on and mentored Napoleon Hill. Now, Napoleon Hill wrote the Think and Grow Rich books, if you guys have read those, and a whole series of success books. Spent his entire life studying the mind and then passing that on to people. But it's been called the secret over the ages, right? It's not in mainstream, it's not in schools. He mentored Earl Nightingale. Earl Nightingale mentored my mentor, my current mentor and friend, Bob Proctor. If anybody know him, he was in the movie The Secret. So he is where I'm getting most of this information from. So we're kind of passing that torch of information. I've been very, very blessed to have Bob as a mentor and people like him. So there's a science behind wealth building. There's a science of achievement. There's a series of books called The Science of Getting Rich by Dr. Wallace Wattles back in the late 1800s. Very great series of books, and that's been carried forward. So it's very simple if you think about it, right? If you want to live like the 1%, then we need to learn to think and act and operate like the 1%. Now, it's very, very teachable. Very teachable. It's not rocket science. It's just not taught in schools. That's what we're going to talk about here today. So again, it's going to be like drinking from a fire hose, but we can get you these slides. I'm sure this is recorded. We're born into an ignorant state, right? Ignorance is not a bad term. It just means not knowing. We're born looking at results. If you think about it, we go to grade school. They put us in these schools. We're learning a bunch of subjects that we're not interested in, little math, little science, little history, and then we're graded on this, right? And if you didn't get good grades for whatever reason because you weren't paying attention, all of a sudden, little Johnny's a D student, right? And it doesn't feel good. The parents are coming down on him. The teachers are coming down on him. Meanwhile, he wanted to be, I don't know, an actor, or an auto mechanic, right, where he didn't need history. But he gets graded, and we're looking at these results, and these results cause our thinking. Now, this happens with everybody here, too. You look at your current bank account, you look at your current body, your current relationships, and you're looking at results, which is the physical manifestation, to cause our thinking. Right? Does that make sense? Now, the thinking causes feelings. So every morning when people wake up, they're looking at the results. And if your results aren't what you want, it sets up these feelings. Now, I want you guys to write this one down. Feeling is a word that we use to describe the conscious awareness of the vibration that you're in. Does that make sense? So if you feel sad, what you're really saying, I'm consciously aware that I'm in a low vibration. That's what vibration is. If you say you're excited, what you're saying is I'm consciously aware that I'm in a high vibration. Now, vibration is very, very key. That's why I want you to write this down. So substitute the word vibration for feelings, because if you're using your results to cause your thinking, and this thinking causes low vibrations, it sets up low actions. This is what procrastination is. Or this is if somebody's struggling in a business and they wake up and they trudge their way to work or they trudge their way to their business. I was talking with Brian Fouts about this, and he talked about it here. He was struggling with that very thing. He was waiting for his business to succeed to be happy, right? That's like me looking at a light and trying to get it to turn on without turning the switch. It's against physics, physically impossible. You need to be happy. You need to understand that that's a vibration, has nothing to do with the outside, and then the other things will follow. So it's cause and effect. So most people are looking at the effect. Like I said, the current environment, the current bank account, and it's the exact polar opposite of what you want to do. So the 1%, this is how we think. It's always the new thinking, the imagination, the visualization. Now, most of the people here don't have a problem with this, but we can always get better, right? So in the morning when we wake up, it's the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You all have dreams and goals and desires, right? And you want to get into the spirit of that. Everything starts in the energy state. And it's consciousness that moves energy into form. Energy cannot move itself into form. It's consciousness that does that. So the new thinking or the visioneering causes new what? New vibrations, higher vibrations. Well, vibration is what causes attraction. We're going to get into that. But these new feelings cause new actions. It causes your tonalities to change. It causes you to reach out to different people, to come to something like the BA, to meet, to grow, to think. And new actions have to cause new results. Now, this is not rocket science, is it? It's a circle with 4 things, right? But this is how the 1% think, and it's not taught in schools. I could teach this to a 5-year-old. Now, 5-year-olds are actually very good with this. They're always visualizing. But what do? Put them in school, right? 1 and 1 is 2. Little math, little science, little English, little history. We literally beat it out of them over many, many years, and then we put them into, what we call the masses. So this is really the key to how the 1% think. And like I said, most of the people here, you're doing this anyway, but we can always get better, and we can talk about that. This is intimate, so if anybody ever has any questions, just stop me. It's small enough. So what does the mind look like, right? What would you say to this question? What does the mind look like? What would you guys say? If we're going to change the mind, right, we need to know what it looks like. Good question, huh? Circuit board? Anybody else? What does the mind look like? It's a good question, right? You're kind of describing it, but what does it look like? If I say, what does your car look like? Well, it's black, it's Ford, right? That's the problem. That's the problem. We're trying to change something. We don't have a definition of what it looks like, right? So Dr. Thurman Fleet created this mind map in 1932, and it's a representation of the mind-body connection. And this is what we should be teaching in schools. Everybody's born with this equipment. You have a conscious mind, you have a subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind is driving this thing we call a body. right? Your body is an instrument of the mind. You're not your body. You're expressing physically through your body. Your energy, your motion, your consciousness, right? So we have these parts of the mind-body connection. And once you learn how to use these, you can really quantum leap. It's crazy how it works. But we're born in ignorance is the problem. And ignorance isn't a bad term. It just means not knowing. Generational societal ignorance. Our school systems haven't changed in 110 years. Bless you. So we're born into this ignorant state, this construct of ignorance on how to build wealth, how to love, how to grow your body, understanding what it is. And we're born really in a society where we have worry and doubt and negative thinking. People go to try something new, they worry. What if it doesn't work? What are my friends going to think? What if I fail? They're what-ifing in the wrong direction. Well, that is energy. Just like the energy flowing through these circuits and going through the bulbs, right? It's energy flow, but it's negative energy flow. So negative energy out, negative results back. It's cause and effect. So we have this worry and doubt and negative thinking in the conscious mind, and it has to transmute to and through your body. There's energy flowing to and through you at all times. You can't not do this. People say, oh, I'm a good manifester. It's like the instant you're born, you're manifesting. So it's understanding this stuff, right? But if we have worry and doubt, what if I catch COVID? I shook somebody's hand the other day. I went to shake his hand. He went to give me a bump. He's like, I got a cold. I'm like, oh, that's okay. I don't get sick. I can't catch it. Right? I'm on a high vibration. This cold's on a low vibration. It's physically impossible for me to catch it. So we have worry and doubt about what we don't understand, usually, you know? And it causes fear in the subconscious mind, right? So the subconscious mind is the emotional mind. And the conscious mind is the thinking mind. Does that make sense? All your emotions are in the subconscious. And your subconscious mind is 1,000,000 times more powerful at storing data. This is why it's hard to quit smoking cigarettes. Once you have a habit, it becomes difficult to replace it, especially if we don't know how or how it got there, right? So the worry and doubt expresses as fear in the subconscious mind, and it has to come out from thought to thing. So if anybody here has ever had anxiety, that is the physical form, right? It's the physical expression of negative thinking. Does that make sense? You can't get to anxiety if you don't have worry and doubt. So if anybody's ever had anxiety or even, worse than that, depression, this is where it comes from. So if we can cut it off at the energy state, you won't express in the physical state. Does that make sense? It's super easy, but again, it's not taught in school. I mean, most of the planet is on Prozac, right? I mean, trillions of dollars in pharmaceuticals, and we could be just educating, like, this is where it comes from. Like, there's nothing to fear, there's nothing to worry about, but people are running around worried and panicking, But this is what causes procrastination. Now, when a human being is procrastinating, it causes depression. Does anybody know why? Anybody know why that is? We're born to create. We're born in the image of God. God is a creator. We're born to create. We're supposed to create from the instant we become aware all the way to the end. My mentor is 87 years old, and he's still rocking stages all over the world. Like, he'll be on a stage when he goes, He found out what he loved, and he got really good at it, right? Work is not for money. Work is for purpose. So that the whole trick to this game of life is find out what you love, get really good at it, do it forever. So procrastination doesn't feel good because we're not in a creative state. That's why it causes a low vibration known as depression. And this is so easy. We work with people that have PTS. It's the same type of thing. They have a traumatic incident, and they think they have it for life, but they don't, right? Because anything that can be programmed into the subconscious can be programmed out. And that's what I want you guys to really understand today is how to rewire your subconscious mind. Because if I'm walking, right, this is not a conscious act, it's a subconscious thing. I consciously said, I want to go from here to there, and then the subconscious takes over. Does that make sense? So understanding this mind map, I mean, this is really the keys to the kingdom. And this is what we work with. And eventually, in a state of depression, it's going to lead to a body not at ease, which is dis-ease. Dis-ease is not a natural state. It's going to be a reflection of something in the environment, whether it's the food, the water, the mental environment. Dis-ease is always a reflection of something in the environment. All right? So what we're doing here today is getting on the side of knowledge. Right? We don't fear what we know. Most of you don't fear driving your car. You know how to do that now. Right? But when you first did that, you might have had a little anxiety about it. So once you have knowledge, you can eliminate this whole thing. And that's what we really want to do here is get on the right side of this equation. And I don't mean right or wrong, I mean right side of the page, right? So through studying and understanding, we can get rid of some of this stuff. And we can create faith. Right? Now, faith is not just a religious term, it's a frequency of mind. I want you to think about everything being in frequencies, right? Fear is a very low vibration, very low thought frequency. Faith is a high frequency. Now, faith is the frequency of mind you need between a thought and a goal achieved. If you want to create a billion-dollar company, you can't be, what if it doesn't work? What if it does? What if it doesn't? That's what most people do. It really, myself included for the first 40 years, by the way. I was rowing the same boat of ignorance for 40 years. But if I want a light switch to be on, I turn it on, don't I? That's how I want you guys to think from here going forward, right? If you get a negative thought, you got to kick it out. Do something. Call somebody, do some push-ups, gratitude. I'll give you guys some things to do. But you got to kick those negative thoughts out. It's energy. Think of it like electricity through a wire. It's no different. So faith is the frequency of mind you need to be in between an idea and manifesting the idea. You need to hold that high vibration. So number one, figure out what you want. Very, very clear. Number two, stay in a high vibration. And through the laws of the universe, you will manifest your goal. It's just straight physics. But faith leads to well-being and calmness. Anybody that knows me knows I'm very, very calm. I mean, nuclear bombs could be going off and it doesn't matter. COVID hit, whatever. None of that matters. It's all environmental stimulus. It's how we process that information is what matters. Does that make sense? And that's what mindset's all about. All right, so it leads to well-being, calmness. Now, we're in a well-being, calm state. We accelerate, right? We attract, we accelerate, we build, we move, and we just kind of push forward in a calm, confident manner. So if you guys want to take I'll play this out, a screenshot of this, or I can get a PDF maybe to Mike and the guys. This is the mind map. This is the keys to the kingdom. You should all have one of these on your desk, right? Because if you find yourself, you're all the leaders of your companies. If your energy tanks, what's going to happen to your company? It's a transmutation of energy right to your employees. So you can't afford to do that. You can't afford to have a bad day, right? So this mind map right here is the keys to the kingdom, and it's something that can remind you, say, wait a minute, what am I so worried about, or what am I fearing, And since you're the leader of your company, you want to make sure you nip this in the bud. All right, so that's the mind map. That's one of the biggest things we teach. And most people are really sending that energy flow to the left, right? Energy is always flowing to and through you, and they're what-ifing in the wrong direction. What we want to do is put the energy flow, right? Of course it's going to work. Why wouldn't it work? If Jeff Bezos did it, why couldn't I do it? We have the same equipment. This is the way you guys want to talk yourselves off the ledge when you get on the ledge. Like, wait a minute, if other human beings can do it, we all have the same equipment. The only difference is the environmental exposures over time. And the other thing is the limiting beliefs you might have given to you by other people since you were born. And we're going to get into that too, something called a paradigm. So take a look at this picture. What does this represent to you guys? Chaos? Anybody else? Headache? What is that? Normalcy? I hope not. Well, I mean, this is what happens in negative thinker, yeah. The masses, for sure, for sure. But this might be people in your team, on your sales team, going out to do a sale. Now think about the energy flow coming off a human being, and they're about to shake hands with one of your potential clients, right? But this is what fear looks like. The graphical image, right, of what fear looks like. This is what doubt looks like. And this is also turning the light switch off, but you want the light to be on. Think about it that way. I personally use a light switch, a wire, and a bulb for my visual reference. You're the wire. You're the conduit for energy flow. So if you're negative thinking, you're not letting the energy express to and through into creation. Remember, I said energy cannot move itself into form. Consciousness does that. But what form are we moving it into? Most people are moving it into a physically depressed human being. It's a transmutation of energy. This is also what worry looks like. Now here's what I want you to write down. Worrying is praying for what you don't want. Let that one sink in. Worrying is praying, putting thought energy out towards what you don't want. So most people for 1 hour on a Sunday go to a building, they get on their knees and they make noise and they think they're praying. But it's 1 hour out of 7 days. You need to be in a constant state of gratitude and a constant state of seeing the wish fulfilled. That's really the trick to the whole deal here. You can't let the environment knock you off your vision. And your environment might be your spouse, your children, might be people really close to you that don't understand your vision. So make sure you get your vision clear with your family and your loved ones, because it's really, really important. Negative energy around you, unless you understand this stuff, can be very, very toxic. All right, now take a look at this picture. What does this represent to you guys? Abundance. Confidence? Evil. Some, yeah, maybe. Anybody else? Joy? I don't know. I don't think Steve Jobs was too joyful. I think he was pretty depressed. Lots of money, yeah. I mean, certainly success, or at least financial success. But the one thing I can tell you is these people have faith, and I don't mean religious faith. I mean, they don't question. They get an idea, and it doesn't matter what you think or what I think or what the world thinks. I mean, Elon Musk was blowing up billion-dollar rockets all over the place. He sold the government on the idea, let me do this too, by the way. But Elon Musk is a salesman, if you're wondering what he is, right? But these people don't. They get an idea in their head, and they hold the image. Even some of them might be narcissistic, but they have the ability to hold the image until it manifests into form, to and through other people. That makes sense? So faith, obviously desire, burning desire. They don't get off track. A lot of them probably unhealthily don't get off track. I mean, I think Elon had 2 nervous breakdowns already. But there's things to be gleaned from this, right? You can take the good, you can harvest the good and forgive the rest, and still be in a calm, confident state and use some of the stuff. And then obviously persistence. Persistence is the physical part, right? Faith is the mental part. Persistence is the physical part. So the beautiful thing is we know exactly how these people think and act and operate, and we can teach it at the 5th grade level. And that's what Bob's become an expert at, and I've become an expert at, is taking Harvard-level information and delivering it at a 5th grade level. All right, guys? So here's the deal. 96% of the world's wealth is earned by less than 1% of the population. And these are not my numbers. This is the deal. Now, everybody in here is probably part of the 1%. I think it's around $600K a year and up, the last time I checked. But the fact of the matter is 96% of the wealth is controlled by less than 1% of the population. And then you got to ask yourself, why is this? We're all going through the school systems. We're going through the thing that's supposed to educate us, right? 93% of people in North America get to retirement age and can't retire. Think about that one. These might be people you know. Probably, like I said, not anybody in here, but they could be relatives, friends, family, maybe parents even, you know. And you got to ask again, right, why is this? If you go to the Home Depots, if you go to the grocery stores midday, you see retired people like working. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with that if you're doing it to be social and to get out of the house, but if you're still trying to earn income that way, it's a broken system, right? This stuff is just not taught in schools. Most people are actually going to jobs that they hate. Again, not people here, but think about it. A lot of people are going to jobs that they just don't love. Now, that is not a thinking person. And when I say it, it makes sense, right? People go to jobs they hate for 40 years. They might even be a doctor, right, making a lot of money, but they're not loving what they do. I absolutely love what we do. This is not work. This is just life. I forget who said that the other day. Work-life balance is bullshit, right? It's just life. Find out what you do, fall in love with it. Sometimes you might be doing something like this. Sometimes you might be on a beach, but it's just life, and that's the beautiful part. But the reason is we're not taught this stuff in schools. It's very, very simple. You take a brand new, baby and an adolescent, and we put them in a school system when they're most impressionable. That subconscious mind, by the way, is wide open. If you want to know what a baby looks like, that stick person, if you take off the top half, it's a wide open bucket. The subconscious mind is just absorbing information. And I can prove it to you guys here. No one here chose to speak your native language. Nobody here chose to speak your native language. You were wide open to impression. Now, if I were to take you and put you in China at that age, you would have learned Chinese, right? And if we were to put you in 4 different countries or around 4 different speaking people, you would learn all 4 languages just as easy as the one. All right, so when we're born, we're wide open to impression. We have no ability to reject information. This is why people, if they grow up in an abusive household, they get character traits like that. If they grow up in a smoking family, a family that doesn't eat well, things of that nature. We're not taught how to build wealth in schools. We're not taught decision-making. And I can prove this one, too. When you go out to eat, you ask the people around you, what are you getting? What are you getting? What are you getting? Right? We're not taught decision-making. Simple things like Henry Ford, intuition that resonates or it doesn't, decision, let's act right now. And this is what we teach too, is decision-making. Decision comes from the Latin Deisre, which means to cut off. Most people aren't making decisions. They're making attempts at something. A decision is like, this will happen, and you move towards it until it happens, right? We're not taught self-image. If we were taught self-image, you wouldn't have all the abusive situations in grade school and stuff. Kids wouldn't care what other kids thought. Literally, would not care. And that's part of the trick, too. Nobody here should give a shit what anybody else thinks about you. I don't mean that in an arrogant way. I mean that in an aware way. You need to stop caring what people think. Because most of the people that you might be thinking about, they're not thinking. Mental activity doesn't constitute thinking. Now, I only take financial advice from billionaires, not millionaires, but billionaires, because my track is billionaires. So that makes sense, right, when I say it? I want you guys to think about that. Who are you taking physical advice from? Relationship advice, financial advice. Now, thankfully, here in the BA, we have just a wealth of amazing advice. That's why we're all here, to get the right advice, right? We're not taught wealth building. You could take a 16-year-old kid, right? They could have a paper route. They could work at the grocery store. Teach them to save a few bucks when they're 18. Get their first 3 family, live on the first floor, rent out the other 2. And if they just repeat, they'll be multimillionaires by age 30. We could teach that in grade school, for Christ's sakes. We could prepare them for that. They don't teach even how to balance a checkbook. So we're taught a bunch of memorization, math, English, science, history. We're not taught thinking. We're not taught thinking, or the reasoning factor. We have an ability to reason, to connect with the infinite. So we're not taught wealth building, which is why most people don't build wealth. And then they just hold on to those paradigms all the way to the end, and then 1 foot in the grave and out, you know. But we're not taught what a paradigm is. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time here on a word that we call paradigms. And has anybody ever heard of this word? You guys know what a paradigm is? I know Ray, a couple people. Let's see. Well, you probably know what a paradigm is. You and I tried real deep. A paradigm is a fancy word that we use to really describe all of the mental programs that are stored in your subconscious mind, controlling all your results. I'm going to say this a few different times. So when we're born, we're a blank slate, right? And all these programs go into the subconscious mind. It's like an operating system in a computer. And the thing is, we're not choosing a lot of these programs. Unless you grew up with like Richard Branson as your dad or Warren Buffett as your dad, you probably weren't taught wealth building. Most of you guys here and girls, you're the first person in your lineage to break the chain of ignorance financially. I didn't see anybody here that was like second generation wealth. There may be, but I haven't met anybody yet that's second generation, like my parents, you know, and they're passing it on. So we're all breaking the chains of those paradigms. That's exactly what you're doing. And through study, you're building new programs, mental programs in your subconscious mind. That's really what it is. And we can do this at any time, right? So a paradigm is all of the mental programs stored in your subconscious that are controlling all of your results. So a paradigm isn't good or bad. It's just your present state of awareness. So if you look at your life physically, financially, your fitness, relationships, if any of those areas are lacking, it's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just a level of awareness. That's another thing I want you guys to do is stop beating yourselves up about anything. If you are, it's a waste of time and life and energy. It just is. But let's assess these things. And it's like, you know what? I would like to raise my level of awareness and fitness. I would like to raise my income. It's like, okay, now we can just get to work and build some new programs. That makes sense? So if you look at yourself like a mechanism, you actually are a mechanism. You're a cybernetic mechanism. And it's much like the movie The Matrix, which is why my company is called The Matrix. You can literally download information. 3 months ago, I started studying day trading. And I studied for 1 hour a day for 3 months straight. And I've been trading and averaging over 10K a day now. And from 8 to 10, right? It's a new program. And I don't have fear about losing money because that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to have fear. That's turning the light switch off. Like that literally doesn't make sense to me anymore. Fear, doubt, worry, lack. Everything's always over here. If somebody else can do it, of course you can do it. So walking is a program, right? When you're born, you can't walk. You learn to. Smoking is not a physical habit. It's a mental program expressed physically. I really want you guys to understand cause and effect here, right? Mental programs expressed physically. So people try to quit smoking by what? Crushing up the cigarettes, physically quitting, physical patch, physical. They need to get to the mental program, and it becomes super easy. You change the program, the body won't do the thing anymore, right? And it's no different. If you want to learn wealth building or smoking, the subconscious mind wouldn't know the difference. That's the other key. Would not know the difference between building wealth and smoking. They're just programs. Warren Buffett wakes up and builds wealth. Something like $40 million a day. It's just programs. He doesn't think about it anymore, right? A lot of you guys are operating on autopilot some systems, but I want you to think about it. There's also no such thing as big or small. right? A billion-dollar company, $100 billion, whatever that is, there's no such thing as big or small. There's only relativity, the universal law of relativity. We relate to things. Now, if you're used to making $100K a month, then $1 million a day might seem like a lot, but it's not. It's just a number. It's just different thought energy and different thinking. Does that make sense? So when you guys can start to understand some of these universal principles, you can start to minimize things. And that's why I have a $21 billion goal. And some people gloss over when I say that. But that's them. I don't care what they think. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter, right? So now most people wouldn't want to run a $21 billion empire, multiple companies all over the world, things like that. So you got to figure out, what do you want? What do you really want? But wealth building is just a program, no different than smoking. We can teach that. Again, there's a science to this stuff, right? Getting in harmony with these universal laws. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time here, and I'm going to go quick enough because I think we started late for any questions at the end. There's a lot of universal laws that are imposing forces on us. Things like gravity, electricity, magnetism, and nobody here can explain those things. But there's other universal laws. I was talking about vibration earlier, right? Vibration just states that everything's in motion. Everything in the physical plane is in motion. That desk, this carpet, me, everything's in a vibratory state. We have the perpetual transmutation of energy. This is important to understand because, well, this is what you are. You are a transmutation of energy. Many, many decisions over time is what you see in the mirror called your body, and we can change those decisions. But everything is in a constant state of transmutation of energy. It's always in motion. A human being from a baby all the way to the end, you know, an acorn into an oak tree. Your dream from a thought to a thing, it's a transmutation of energy, but not if you have intermittent thought energy. Not if you're waking up saying, I can't or I won't, or if you take a business hit and you let that pull you down, right? You need to keep the light switch on. Law of polarity, everything has an opposite. That's why there's no such thing as good or bad. We consciously label things. COVID isn't good or bad. It just is. Now, there may be some things you're labeling as bad, maybe even some people that passed away, but I know that there's no such thing as death. It's just transmutation of energy, right? You moved into your body when you were born, you'll move out at the end, and there's something else. But when you get to a high level of awareness, you can stop fearing some very, very basic, simple things. So everything has an opposite. The law of rhythms, right? The tide goes in, the tide comes out. So everything is in a rhythmic state. So an entrepreneur's journey, what it looks like is this. It's like a sinusoidal curve, but going up if you're doing it right. You're always going to have ups and downs because of the law of rhythms, but hopefully, you know, next year's low was yesterday's high, right? So you want to be moving in that upward curve. A lot of people are going through just ups and downs in linear, 40 years in a factory job and then out, you know. So you're always going to have some ups and downs, and since we know this stuff, we don't label it as bad when we have it down. It just is. There's a lesson to be learned. There's a reason for it. The law of gender just states this male and female energy and everything. The law of relativity I was talking to you guys about, everything's relative. That's a really key one. Really key. There's no such thing as big or small, right? The earth itself is not big or small, and so you compare it to a golf ball or like the universe. So start to minimize some of these monetary targets, and they'll come to you a lot easier. And then we have the law of gestation. Law of gestation just states that there's a gestation period between a thought and a thing, or a seed and the fruit. You know, a carrot is about 80 days. A human baby is about 280. Your goal has a gestation period. The instant you decide to reach a certain monetary value or whatever it is with your company, you have it, right? Everything is in thought energy first, and then it takes time to manifest into form. So we're going to get into just a couple of these. And again, when we're talking about universal laws, I want you to think about nobody here can explain gravity. This is a universal law. We have theories about it, but the most erudite physicists in the world, we just have theories. But if you go to the top of this building and jump off, right, you're not going to challenge gravity, right? But I want you to think about it, but we've gotten in harmony with it, haven't we? We know enough about it that we can fly around the world at 600 miles an hour. So we trust that enough. Everybody here is going to get on a plane. So even though you can't explain gravity, you trust it, or you're in harmony with it to some degree. Does that make sense? There's a lot of universal laws that we're not taught about. We learned about gravity the hard way growing up, falling over, BMX bike off a jump. I did that one, break your finger. Jumping off of something, we learned that, you know, even when we're walking as infants. So I want you guys to think about these universal laws that we're going to talk about. And there's just two that I'm going to talk about today because for time reasons. But this is the law of vibration causing attraction. Has anybody heard of the law of attraction? A lot of people think that's an ethereal thing. Like, I believe in the law of attraction. That's like saying you believe in gravity, right? So I'm going to explain the law of attraction here a little bit that'll make sense. It should be called the law of magnetism, right? You can't deny that two magnets stick, but nobody here can explain that one either, right? But that's what the law of attraction is. Human beings are electromagnetic beings. We all attracted to this. We're all here for a certain reason. Mike attracted us all here. We were all looking for more solutions. You get on different frequencies. Next thing you know, your friend invites you to the BA. Well, sound is energy. That invite is just a transmutation of energy. So you can attract people from all over the world. We have people all over the world work in our company. So in this example, and again, you could explain this to a fifth grader, if you take an acorn and you had it in your hand, it would be in a very low state of vibration. It would appear to be solid, right? But if you put that acorn in the proper environment, a little bit of soil, a little bit of water, the right temperature, some nutrients, it gets in harmony with the laws of growth in nature, and you would see the acorn start to excite and raise the vibration. Now, it's not raising its own vibration. It's just through the laws of God and nature. But you'd see the vibration increase. And we can see this right under a microscope. And what you would see is all the little particles of everything it needs dancing towards it. Not everything, just what it's in harmony with. Does that make sense? The minerals, the nutrients, the water, only what it needs to become the higher, fuller expression of itself. This is exactly what happens to a human being. This is not a metaphor. It's identical. The difference is we can choose to raise our vibration. The acorn can't. If that acorn is on a hot pavement, driveway or something, it'll disintegrate. It'll appear to go backwards. So what happens is that you put it in the right soil, the right environment, it starts to increase the vibration, attract everything it needs. And then the part we can't explain is what people call God, or the laws of nature, right? It splits and grows and becomes the higher, fuller expression of itself. So everything is a co-creation. We can do our part. God has his part. We can control our vibration, and we can figure out what we want. Those are the only two things you really need to do. So that's the law of attraction explained. And a lot of people say, oh, I'm a good manifester. It's like you can't not manifest. It's impossible. As soon as you're born, you're manifesting into the physical state of your body, and then we become aware, and we start to manifest whatever it is you guys are creating. It's just most people aren't taught this stuff. Another law I want to talk about is transmutation of energy, because everyone here has done this. If you've ever ordered a pizza, you've done this. I want you to really think about this. You get a thought, I'm hungry. You pick up the phone, and you speak, which is sound, over the phone. Right now it's not even over wires, right? It goes over the airwaves. Somebody picks it up on the other end, and they physically start creating a pizza. That's a transmutation of energy. Now, if you can do that, you can create $1 billion company. This is where I lose a lot of people. Subconscious mind wouldn't know the difference. Now, can a 3-month-old baby order a pizza? Why not? They're not aware. They're not even aware of how to speak yet, right? Or walk, or what a pizza is. But the baby has no ability. It doesn't know big or small. It doesn't know billion from $10, right? That's a later on thing. That's what we learn through school and education and people around us. But like I said, if you had grown up with Warren Buffett as your dad, that would be very common. You would all be billionaires right now, whatever age you are, and you wouldn't think twice about it. That would just be your normal deal, like speaking Chinese. So in this example here, I used to be an architect and a builder in my past life. I would get energy from a homeowner. Right? They would speak. They would give me pictures on paper. I would create it on the computer. We'd go back and forth transmuting energy, which is just voice. And I would hand the plans over to the site contractor. Next thing you know, they're digging a hole. They think they're working. What they're doing is a transmutation of energy from the homeowner, not even from the architect. That started with the homeowner. And next thing you know, you have a foundation, roofers, siders, frame, electrician. So if anybody has ever built a house, that is a transmutation of energy. Now, we know that we can build a house. It's not a foreign concept, so we don't reject the information. But again, when it comes to building $1 billion company, you might reject the information. That's all it is. Now, if you're rejecting the information, do you think you'll make it work? It's negative energy, isn't it? So the key is to understand these universal laws at some level. Relativity, no such thing as big or small. It's just deciding what you want, holding the energy, being in a high vibration. And then there's a gestation period. Right? And that's God's part. And we can speed it up by staying in a higher vibration, but there's going to be an amount of time, and there's going to be lessons, not failures, but lessons along the way, causing resistance to cause you to grow, just like the wind blowing on a sapling. So we need resistance to grow. If anybody's here in the gym, you need resistance to grow. That's what we're calling some of these failures and setbacks. But I just call it feedback, right? It's necessary for growth. So what do you think happens if we're ignorant about these laws? Right? Nobody's going to ignore the law of gravity. So we're here to give you a little bit of information today on some of these universal laws and to show you what can happen. My daughter's 25 years old. She's been in this environment since she was 18, over $100,000 a month. She has her own company. She's got the man of her dreams. She's physically fit, healthy. She's done modeling. I mean, everything about her was outside the school system. And I don't say that to brag or any other reason. It's just this is what we're looking to do in the Matrix, is really free people at a young age. And that's one of the things I want to show you towards the end of the presentation. But she's 25 years old and has all the information that I have at 50. And it's not rocket science. It's super easy. Thanks, brother. No, it feels good. It really does. I mean, most of you here are parents, and it's like just to know that your child is good. Is good. It's amazing. And that's getting in harmony with the universal laws. So again, guys, wealth is 95% mindset. Does that make sense now? And 5% what you do. So I see a lot of people keep changing what they're doing. They think that's the thing. Well, it's not this industry. It's not this industry. It's not this. It doesn't matter. You could weave baskets, right? But then mass produce them, get on the internet, and sell them all over the world. I mean, $17 million a year in mugs, right? So it doesn't matter what you do. It matters the mindset back behind it. Mindset is always going to be the thing. So I want you guys to imagine, your imagination is a conscious faculty. It's a superpower. It's an ability. It's your ability to tap into the infinite and produce in the real world. But you got to get into a state every morning of imagination. You have to see your dreams, right? It's the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Imagine what you want. Why do you want it? You want to always go to the end every morning and see it done, and then move into form during the day. So one of the things I want to say to you guys is to have something called the life script. Like, speak out your story and record it and listen to it every morning and get into that visual state. Imagine, working from anywhere in the world, whatever it is you guys want. Question? Yeah.
So, Brian, this is an amazing presentation. I'm so glad that I got here even an hour early to make sure I could hear you speak. It's been amazing. I'm only going to get this vulnerable because I love this group and we're amongst beautiful people, and I love you all. When you talk about, not caring about what people think and having that mindset and doing different things, other people may have experienced this. I grew up in a blue-collar town. I grew up in Buffalo, New York. The goal was to get a union job. That's all you were ever told. I don't care what it was, but get a union job, become an apprentice, get that union job, get that pension. You're in there for 40 years, and that's what you do. The only other path was go to college and pick a career and do it. And I did that because that's how I was wired when I was a kid. I was told to do that. I was told to go to school, go to college, get a job, get married, have kids. So all that fell apart after it was done because, of course, it's not a way. But my point is, when I started my own business, became very successful very quickly, it's hard for me to say. My mother was actually upset when she heard about how much money we made one year. She was actually upset. She was honestly upset because of the industry I was doing it in as well. Maybe if I was curing cancer, it would have been a better thing. I can't not care about what my mother thinks. And it's difficult even now. I don't talk to her about my business anymore. In some ways, she doesn't like the business I'm in. In some ways, she doesn't agree with the choices I've made. And my extended family, which is huge, hundreds and hundreds of cousins, all still living in Buffalo, New York, living that life, which they're successful. They've done those things. And you're almost a pariah in your own family because of, and my success is tiny compared to the people in this room. And so when I think about that and what's next and what I want to do, I want to isolate those people in my life. And it's...
Well, let me see if I can help with that. So, number one, you said I can't not care what my mother thinks, so you're going to be labeled to that because you're telling yourself that's the reality. Now, that isn't the reality. I don't care what my mom thinks about certain things. I probably should say that. I'm not going to go ask her business advice. She's not a multimillionaire or a billionaire. So, but you telling yourself I can't not care what my mother thinks means that you won't. Take a look at the screen. You got to understand how the world's 1% thinks. And when I say that, I said not in an ignorant way. You don't care what people think, but I said not in an ignorant way, in an aware way. Now, of course you're going to care what your mom, you love her, she loves you, you're going to care about certain things, but it can't be about business, not if you want to succeed. You're following an ignorant person, and ignorance isn't a bad term. It just means not knowing. But stop telling yourself, I can't not care what my mom thinks. Sound is energy. It goes right back into your subconscious mind. You're ingraining it. And this is why people with PTSD, if you're sitting on a couch reliving the experience, is the worst possible thing you can do. It's the polar opposite of what needs to be done. What you want to do is only focus on what you want and gratitude. High vibration and what do you want? Two things. We don't think about the past unless you want to recreate the past. It's straight physics. We become what we think. Make sense? But again, it's just not taught in school. It's very simple concepts, but how old are you? So 47 years of programming one way, right? There's things we do to rewire. You know, it's probably not going to happen today. A little bit of it can, but it doesn't have to take long. It's pretty simple. But we got to pay attention to the language. I can't is an illusion. It's a lie. There's no such thing as I can't. It's are you willing, and are you able? And everybody here is able. So the only challenge is are you willing? You know. Yeah,
right.
But those spouses, family, those can be some of the closest environmental stimuluses and the hardest ones to get past. They really are because of the love and the connection. But unless your mom's, like I said, a multi-billionaire, why are you listening to her about business?
Ryan,
Makes sense?
so we know that in your teachings in the Matrix, it's about creating wealth, becoming successful, but correct me if I'm wrong, these are a lot of the situations that your entrepreneurs, your business owners
100%.
actually have to deal with first, get that out of the way, so then they can have the breakthrough, the paradigm shift, to then start building the wealth, the billion-dollar company. Am I correct? And that's what you work on,
100%.
right?
No, I'm glad Ray said that. So number one, wealth is not money. Wealth is not money. Wealth is the whole human experience. It's spirituality, it's friendships, it's relationships, it's physical fitness, it's philanthropy. Money is the easiest thing. It becomes so easy, right? So wealth is not money. People get confused with that. Wealth is the whole heavenly human experience. And you hit it right on the head. A lot of what we're dealing with when we're working with entrepreneurs is some of these other environmental stimuluses that are pulling them in the wrong directions. Not necessarily just their company and their business. That's a really good point. Let me just get the last thing here. So I do have a give. And if you guys want to pull out your phones, if you go to briandalmaso360.com, and I've done this with a few people already, just a 1-hour strategy session, digging real deep into your personal particular experience, highlighting some things just like that, super simple. I can give a lot of value pretty quickly. And we have it for the team. We've did this with Pam and her team already. If you guys are running teams, I have about a 45-minute value-based webinar where they can ask questions just like this at the end. Really builds like community and gets them thinking, gets everybody on the same page. The first thing I do when I ask the whole team, I said, on the count of 3, I want you to answer this question. I said, 1, 2, 3, what is the company's goal? So I did this with Pam and her team, and they're like, world dominance. It was cool, but the subconscious mind doesn't know what that means, right? And I've never had any company in harmony say what the company's goal was, so how the hell would they ever get there when your employees don't even know the goal, you know? So we do team building exercise. Again, this is just a free give back. I love what I do. And number 2 would be one for yourselves, or both, right? So pull out your phone, briandalmaso360.com, hit the contact and save it. Shoot me a text, and just text 1, 2, or both. And we can schedule a one-on-one strategy session or one with your team or both. All right? Now, I do have an ask, too. One of my passion projects is something called the Mindset Masters. We actually teach this for about $1 a day in a Facebook group called the Mindset Masters. And it's sort of my give back to the world. We're teaching capfuls of information to the masses so they can just make those first steps. We've had at least 7 people not commit suicide from being in this group and just understanding the mind map, understanding where they are is not their fault. And it's also not the fault of the people that might have done some things to them. It's just levels of awareness and things of that nature. So this is my passion project. And what we're looking for from you guys is anybody that are influencers, like big influencers in either real estate or sales or coaching. They have big followings, and they want to give back. They want to actually impact their audience with some of this information so their audience can really level up. And the second ask would be getting on podcasts, interviews, anything to really get this message out. I've done quite a few already. I love impacting. I love doing what we're doing here. So those would be my two asks. All right, so we do have a couple more minutes. Any questions, I'm happy to answer. Anybody's got any questions on anything?
I think everybody here wants to just sit down and talk to you for a long time. Yeah. Sarah, on green, please.
Hi, Brian. I would love to have you come and speak to my audience.
Awesome, yeah.
Yeah, around.
great.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, just hit the, right, I think you have one too, yeah, cool.
Looking good in the BA hat. I like it. All right. Anyone else down here in the end? We'll go to blue, please. Blue.
Excellent presentation, Ryan.
Thanks,
Loved
brother.
it. And that's coming from a psychiatrist, and I could use you, okay? And
Well,
my
you know
team
what's
can
funny?
use you.
Bob, he's never been to any formal schools. He dropped out of high school. He has psychologists and psychiatrists from all over the world hiring him to teach them about the mind.
Yeah.
And it's just different. It's different than the textbook study. It's understanding at a universal level instead of a sort of a physical level. Yeah.
I think where I make a difference in people's lives is through the same intuitive knowledge that I have, and I think that's what you embody, and I think that's fantastic. I'm going to join your Facebook
Yeah,
group
love
too,
to connect.
and would love to talk to you more about, you know how you said you want to bring it to the younger people?
Yes.
I'm a child psychiatrist.
Oh, wow,
So
yeah.
I think about NLP in children. And I think there are a couple of people here that would love, right, Anita, to not have kids placed on medications, and Tara
100%.
about teaching this through coaches to other people.
Yeah.
So if you
We're
have an
developing,
interest, let's talk.
we have a program called Thinking in Results, which is more for like entrepreneurs, but we're literally in the middle of creating Thinking Results for kids. It's called CAPE, it's a different project, but we're literally developing the curriculum, and it's kind of cartoon-based instead of, yeah.
Yeah,
So
I'd love to know
chat.
more about it and help you spread that word.
Amazing.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Let's go right behind you here. Partiv is on green.
Partiv, what's up, handsome?
Hi, Brian. I want to help him get with some other psychiatrists. I have someone in the family who is a pediatric psychiatrist.
Okay.
So I will connect the three of you, and you guys have fun. So this is my cousin. She's at San Francisco Children's Hospital. And yeah, this thing should be shared.
Amazing, thank you.
Thank you, Partiv. Right here. We'll stay on green. Anita?
Thank you, Brian.
very welcome.
That was really awesome. And I really love that you're teaching this. I do have some connections for you as well that I can make. So if you can send me a little intro so I can introduce you properly. And I love that you're from my hometown of Boston. All right.
Thank you so much, love it.
Coming right behind us here. Ray on white.
So I just want to say that, you know, I've worked with Brian for a little while and I've gotten to know him, and he's a badass in what he does, as you can see. But for all the entrepreneurs in the room, whether it's growing your business, whether it's scaling where it's working better with your team, or whether it's some personal issues subconsciously in your family, with your relationships, the work he does is amazing. So I encourage everyone, whether you think you need some assistance or not, to schedule that call with him, because through the questions he asks and the process he goes through, you start to find some things that you didn't even realize were going on, because it's back here, it's in your blind spot, in your subconscious, and sometimes the things you're not even aware of is the thing we need to break through to get you to that next level. So I'm just going to encourage everyone to take advantage of the gift he's offering and connect with him, whether you think you need it or not, because I promise you it'll be really worth your while.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah, beautiful. Right behind you, Ray.
Actually, I'm going to build on that. The only time we don't need that call is when we're dead. And let me be very clear.
You're hired.
Let me be very clear. There's always a next level. Otherwise, we
Yes.
literally, then we're dead. Like, no next level is the highest level. You're dead. You go to heaven or wherever you want to go. So we may not know we want or not want the next level, but I believe that we are souls walking in this life path, and that I always say it's like Mario Bro. There's always a next level of the game.
Yeah.
You either want to progress or want to get stuck or go back. So everybody needs this call. because it shows you the way to your next biggest game.
Amen. I love that.
Yeah, I love it. Ryan,
Very cool. Thanks, brother.
always amazing.
2 seconds on the clock.
Oh, with 2 seconds, look at that. Bam! Right on time. Well done. Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, brother.